With most software, when you want to create or edit a drawing, you have to move the mouse back and forth between the drawing and a panel of tiny icons. With MillWrite, many of the drawing and editing functions are available by clicking your right mouse button. This can save time because you don't have to move the mouse back and forth from the drawing to the panel of icons. The menu that appears when you click the right mouse button changes according to what it is hovering over. When the mouse is in the drawing, but not hovering over anything, clicking the right mouse button will bring up the drawing menu. If the mouse is hovering over something in the drawing when you click the right mouse button, then the editing menu appears. There are different editing menus, and the menu that appears will depend upon what type of item the mouse is hovering over. If you want one of the drawing functions instead of one of the editing features, click the page turning icon at the upper left corner. Every time you click that page turning icon, you switch back and forth between these two menus. Another difference between MillWrite and most other software is that once you select a function from the menu with either the left or the middle mouse button, that mouse button will retain that function until you change it. To understand this, notice the three mouse icons at the lower left corner of the screen. The left button is currently set to Select Items, and so is the middle mouse button. If you click the mouse when you see the selection arrow, MillWrite assumes that you are trying to draw a box to select items, and you will see a message at the top of the screen that says, Switching to Selection Mode. You are likely to do this accidentally, in which case you can press the Escape key to cancel it, or just click the Done button at the upper right corner. Now I will click the right mouse button to bring up the drawing menu, and I will click the Draw Rectangle function with the left mouse button. Notice that the left mouse icon in the lower left corner now shows that the left mouse button is set to the Draw Rectangle function. This means that every time I click the left button, it will draw a rectangle in the drawing. I will now click the right mouse button, and I will click Draw Circle with the middle mouse button. The middle mouse button is also a scroll wheel, so it is somewhat awkward to use it as a button also. But if you can do it, then you can set the middle mouse button to a drawing or editing function. The lower left corner of the screen shows that the middle mouse button is now set to draw circles. Now when I click the middle mouse button, I can draw a circle. When I click the left mouse button, I draw a rectangle. These mouse buttons will retain these functions until I change them. If I want to edit an item in the drawing, I need to switch the mouse to an editing function. I will click the right mouse button to bring up the menu, click the page turning icon to get to the editing menu, and click the Move Node option with the left mouse button. The mouse icons at the lower left corner of the screen now show that the left mouse icon is set to Select Items rather than Draw Rectangles. However, when I let the mouse hover over an item in the drawing, the mouse icon switches to the Move Node function. If I click the left button now, I can grab that node and move it around. If I let the mouse hover over a link in the polyline rather than a node of the polyline, then I can move that link. If I click the right mouse button while the mouse is hovering over a polyline, the editing menu appears rather than the drawing menu. I will click the rotate function with the center mouse button. Notice the three mouse icons at the lower left corner of the screen now show that the center button is set to rotate. If I click the middle mouse button now while it is hovering over something in the drawing, then I can rotate it. It will rotate around the point that I clicked. If I click the left button, I can move the node. Both the left and center buttons will retain these particular editing functions until I change them. This has caused some people to become concerned when they set the left mouse button to the Delete Item function. I will show you. I will click the right mouse button and select the Delete Item with the left mouse. Now, every time I move the mouse to something in the drawing, it shows Delete Item. If I switch to the engraving list page or the setup page and then come back to the drawing, every time the mouse hovers over something, it shows Delete Item. This can cause people to become concerned with why the mouse wants to delete everything. Just keep in mind that the mouse retains whatever function you give it, so after you have set it to delete, make sure you change it to something else when you are finished deleting. Now I will show you some of the editing features of MillWrite. I will bring up the editing menu by clicking the right mouse button and then click the Flex Link function. The Flex Link function allows you to convert a line into an arc or alter the radius of an arc. If you move the mouse over one of the lines or circles in the drawing, the mouse icon changes to show the words Flex Link. And at the lower left corner of the screen, the left mouse icon also shows Flex Link. I'll put the mouse over whichever line I want to flex, click the left mouse button, and move the mouse. This converts the line to an arc. Notice that as soon as I click the left mouse button, the three mouse icons at the lower left corner of the screen change. The right mouse button now shows Move Item. That means if I click the right mouse button right now, the flexing of this link will temporarily stop and I can move the entire polyline. Notice that as soon as I click the right mouse button, the mouse icon changes to remind you to click the right mouse button when you are finished moving the polyline. I can also use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. If you learn to use the right mouse button and the mouse wheel in this manner, you can save yourself time because it allows you to combine the moving of an item with one other editing operation, instead of doing each operation separately. When I'm done moving the polyline, I click the right mouse button again, and then I resume flexing the line. If I move over one of the nodes of the polyline, the mouse icon changes to show the words Move Node. That means that if I click the left mouse button, it will move that node. When you draw a rectangle, 2 of the 4 lines are considered to be rigid lines and the other 2 are considered flexible lines. The difference between them is that the flexible lines will switch to arcs when you use the Flex Link function. For example, I will let the mouse hover over this flexible line of the rectangle, click the left mouse button, and then flex it. The other flexible line automatically becomes a corresponding arc, while the 2 rigid lines remain as lines. If I now let the mouse hover over one of the rigid lines, the mouse will extrude that line rather than flex it into an arc.